Hello, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins, and the program is Black America. For many, seeing me here in the CUNY TV studio, surrounded by cameras and crew and video walls, featuring leaders and history makers in the Black community is something many can easily take for granted. But for my guests today, that experience is very different. Joining me are Lachi, the Grammy-nominated recording artist, producer, and author of I Identify as Blind. She's a disability rights advocate and CEO of Ramped. And Krystle Allen, co-founder and president of Eyes Like Mine, a leader in accessibility and inclusive communications whose work is helping organizations rethink how they can engage with people of all abilities. And together they're changing the conversation about disability, equity, and representation. And thanks so much to both of you for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And as I've explained to both of you, as we began this conversation off screen, I now identify as a visually impaired person, and I'm glad that you all are including the elders of the universe who, as we age.
Listen, join the club.
I know, we're all joining your club, that's it. So now macular degeneration and the issues that it presents are increasingly, as I understand it, in the elder population in our country. So I'm now getting adjusted to that. And I understand that one of the things that we should all be doing for viewers who cannot actually see us is to do a brief description of who we are. I'm going to let Lachi start.
All right. Hey, everybody. Lachi like Versace, although Versace ain't helping me out. Guys, y'all got to get me some free shoes or something. But I am a Black woman with cornrows. I identify as blind and neurodivergent, and I'm wearing cute little heels, cute little nails, cute little jewelries, and a cute little face.
Oh, I like that. One of the things that Lachi said, too, is if somebody is describing themselves for 45 minutes, that's too much information, right? All right, Krystle.
So, I don't know if I can do this brief, but I'll try. I am Krystle, and I am an Afro-Latina. I have a chocolate brown complexion, round face, a tiara on my head, because I'm also Miss Classic Supreme 2026.
Woo, hey, though, you better go ahead and share it.
And I'm walking sparkle. I love shiny everything, so I have on a shiny metallic skirt and a silver shirt, my crown and sash.
Right, great. And I told you I was going to fight you for that crown, too, right? I have to jump into the contest, I think. I'm Carol Jenkins, and I usually describe myself as a 22-year-old, as an 81-year-old woman with macular degeneration. I'm wearing glasses for reading as well as everything else. And I'm delighted to have you both here. Brown skin, crinkly hair, and you all will teach me how much detail we should go in to describe. Well, one of the things I love, Lachi, is that your sense of humor about it all is really helpful.
Yeah, well, I feel like at the end of the day, when I was young, I was super shy and quiet. And I always felt like I was doing and saying everything wrong. And it was because I was super ashamed about my blindness, right? But today, I'm super confident, I'm jovial, I'm successful, I'm social butterfly. You actually can't get me to stop talking, but I'm still blind. So obviously the blindness wasn't the problem. And it's kind of like once you start to recognize that you're not doing things despite blindness, you're doing it despite inaccessibility, or you're doing it despite stigma, then you recognize that it's not about the condition, it's really about the social conditioning. And so that allows you to really just flip the script on how you view yourself, because it's not about fixing you, it's about fixing attitudes.
Right, yeah. I was talking with someone recently who spent her entire working life working for nonprofits and said that the issue of blindness never came up, I mean, that it's one of the, if you will, the sort of frontier of really being totally inclusive and incorporating blind and vision impaired people into our society. Yeah. Krystle, how do you view that? Are you doing your darndest to make sure that people get hired and the corporations understand?
Well, around the country, there's over 8 million people with all degrees of vision loss. And our community is a community that anyone can join at any point in their life for any circumstance. You don't have to be born blind. You don't have to have some tragedy in most cases. It can just happen because life happens to everyone, right? So in New Jersey, we have an estimated 259,000 residents who are with different types of vision loss, and diabetes since the pandemic has diagnosed many people with types of vision loss because, you know, we were all confined at one moment in 2020. So diabetes is one of the leading causes of blindness. But after losing vision, you have to know that there is life after blindness. There's all kinds of organizations, resources. The lifestyles of the blind today is a lot different many years ago, but blind people have been living since humanity, you know? And sometimes what you don't know, you just don't know. But once you find your tribe of people, it allows you to have a smoother adjustment to vision loss. It's not peaches and roses every day. Nobody ever wakes up and says, I can't wait to be blind. But you can get through it, and it's not the characteristic that defines you.
Right, so Krystle, you were 16 when you
Yes.
lost your vision. So
Yes.
tell us how that happened.
I have a skin condition called eczema. I've had it since I was 5. And I went through many dermatologists, but I never had success. And I finally met one dermatologist right here in New York. His name was Michael Jackson, by the way.
No, it wasn't.
Michael
Jackson, the dermatologist. That's a whole punchline.
Oh,
Michael
okay.
E. Jackson.
Okay, got you.
Okay.
Got
From
you.
the Bed-Stuy group, and I had such great success out of all of the dermatologists I've seen. My mom is from Central America in Honduras, and a lot of my family would bring a lot of natural things to treat my skin because it was so bad. But once I started seeing Dr. Jackson, he did miracles for me. Like, for the first time at 16, I was wearing shorts with confidence. But in the year of my treatment with him, I started having severe headaches. I was very fatigued. And at that time, my vision wasn't changing, but I was noticing some floaters. And my grandmother was working for a hospital in a local town called Irvington. And she just took me to the eye doctor, and he told me by the end of the visit, my eyes were inflamed and I needed to come back in 2 weeks for prescription eyewear. I couldn't wait until the 2 weeks was over because I was still having these horrible, horrible headaches. And there was a different doctor who did more of a thorough examination the second time around. And by the end of the visit, he told me I developed a condition called pseudotumor cerebri. And because I was still a minor, then I had to be rushed to the Children's Hospital. And I went through a series of things over the years with 23 spinal taps, 2 eye surgeries, and a temporary shunt in my head, which ultimately led to me having papilledema, which is the rupture of the optic nerves. And my optic nerves are so severely damaged that I was declared legally blind because there's no surgery or procedure that can restore my sight for now. But what was determined why this started, because pseudotumor cerebri at 16 at that time was very rare. Most people who were diagnosed with it were in their late 30s and early 40s, and they had a lot of other factors that initiated the pseudotumor. So ultimately, when looking at my prescription history, 7 medications that was prescribed by that dermatologist contained an ingredient called tetracycline.
Wow.
And the tetracycline is what initiated the pseudotumor.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And that led to my vision loss.
Right. What a story. Keep your crown. I'm not going to fight you for it. Lachi, you were born legally blind?
Yeah, I was born legally blind. I had much better vision than I have today. And I had to wear Coke bottle glasses when I was like 5 or 6.
Right.
I remember my mom was told to get me that I had to use a cane pretty early on. And I remember I took the cane and I ran over it with my bike trying to break it because I was already, not fitting in at school and at class. But the problem was I actually needed a cane because I would go up to hug an old friend and realize it was a tree, or I would walk into a locker thinking it was the classroom. So I did need the cane, but I avoided it as much as I could. And I navigated the world in a way that I guess I deem it sighted passing for as long as I could.
Interesting. Right.
But then I realized something. So when I didn't have a lot of role models growing up, especially, a Black woman with a disability, out there trying to be an entertainer or a singer or an actor or a writer, all the things I wanted to be.
Right.
And I didn't
And
have...
became.
Yes. Well, I had to kind of pave my own way because I didn't have those role models. My parents didn't. My teachers didn't. And so they're like, what are you going to do? Be the first? And I'm like, yes.
And you said yes.
I said
Right.
Yes.
No, please.
But at the same time, I remember when I started really navigating the music industry, I was tripping over wires or I was missing handshakes that could get me a deal. And in order to get ahead of that, as I got into these bigger and better rooms and these better studios, I was like, I'm going to have to start using my cane. I'm going to have to start advocating for myself to get the accommodations I need to just be better at my job. And so I did that. I started using the cane, and I started doing better at my job and getting better jobs. And that confidence allowed me to start to become the person I am today.
And are we glad? We are so glad and now, so you went through high school that way, passing?
I went through high school passing. I went through college passing.
Right.
So many folks had no idea. But one day, about 10 years ago, in 2016, I woke up blind. So the vision was just like, sorry, snatched up, just like the wig. And it was so funny because I was already like a whole Harlem, south of Harlem, New Yorker, right? And so it just felt like just another inconvenience. Like, oh, Lord, So I just got up, went down the stairs. A Black girl couldn't get a cab in 2016, so I had to figure out.
Or now, right? No,
Or now.
Whatever.
And so I had to figure out how to use the train, my local train station to get down to my clinic and, get there blind. First day blind. And, like I said, New Yorker.
The first day you were totally blind.
I just went out there. I just did what I had to do.
Right.
But the interesting because I didn't have a cane at that time. Now I got the glam canes, girl. Oh, did I tell y'all?
Wow, it's glittery too.
It's a glittery, silvery,
right.
bejeweled glam cane. And if you're blind, go get you a glam cane. Krystle knows about these glam canes.
Yes.
Stay you cute. But I was going to say, a lot of people don't recognize the breadth of blindness.
Sure.
Right? Like Krystle mentioned, you can be born with it or you cannot be born with it. Mm-hmm. But also you could be only less than 15% of blind people are totally blind, see completely black. Mm-hmm. Most blind people have some form of vision, light, dark, etc.
Right.
Yep. Some folks have peripheral blindness, some people have central blindness, some people have night blindness, some people have light blindness, some people have retinitis pigmentosa, meaning that they have peripheral blindness that slowly starts to encroach inward, but that encroachment can still be 20/20. Yeah. So a lot of folks are out here legally blind and legally able to drive.
Yeah.
Some folks who are have albinism have a different type of legal blindness. So there is such a large spectrum. Not everybody is Hollywood blind. And another thing people have to recognize is that only 2% of blind people use a dog. Less than 8% of blind people use a cane. And most blind people are out here just trying to figure it out because they're afraid of the stigma. So a lot of folks aren't actually using the tools that they could be using because it's for their independence.
Right.
Sometimes when people see a cane, they think, oh, it's a symbol of weakness, but actually it is the symbol of strength, independence, and the ability to get around on our own.
Right, right. Well, Krystle, I want to hear what you're doing out in the world. I would just tell you, by the way, I've worn glasses since I was a small child, and then about a year and a half ago, I kept saying, I'm not seeing as well as I used to see. And I went to my ophthalmologist and he said, go straight to a retina specialist. And, that's when we discovered. But the very first key is that I was actually at a public event and I looked down at my notes and I could not see a thing. It's almost like, it was the central sight was gone, you know, and I had to turn to someone and say, can you take over this program for a second until I sort myself out, you know? You know, so it can happen suddenly, it can happen gradually, and all at the same time.
It's layered, you know.
It's layered.
A spectrum.
Now you're out there, you've created an organization, you get about, you know, and all, and you're smiling.
Yes, absolutely. I can't, you know, look like what my story may sound like to some people, and it's really not the end of the world. You know, some people adjusting to vision loss, it takes a moment, and some can just have a snapback and just, you know, be down on the ground with their feet running with vision loss or any other life circumstance that changes your life, because definitely losing my vision changed my life, but my vision loss was truly my vision gained. And when I started Eyes Like Mine Incorporated in 2014, it was literally a thought on the toilet. Everyone hates when I say that, but it was on the toilet. The best place
you
to
you have now said the word twice.
Okay.
Just so you know.
I know. But some people used to say that was one of the best thinking spots. And in saying that, you know, I didn't have a clear plan right away. I just thought, you know, I was sitting down feeling bad for myself, and I was just thinking, you always see older people out in the community doing things to change and develop structures. Where are the younger people at? Eyes Like Mine, Inc., the mission is to share awareness about the abilities and potential of individuals with vision loss through community service initiatives, comprehensive empowerment workshops, and innovative social change awareness events. It is a 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit. And in my community where I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, we are the only blindness organization that's bringing awareness around the largest municipality in New Jersey of over 330,000 residents. And in the height of the pandemic, we were able to get the support of our Mayor Raj J. Baraka, where we, for the first time in the 360 years of Newark's history, to acknowledge the 30th anniversary of the ADA, where we proclaimed the ADA anniversary in July 26, because that is the anniversary each year. And we started working with different community developers and public servants to bring jobs to those who were seeking jobs in the hard of hearing community and the blind and low vision community through the Census 2020. And other workforce training programs. We have support groups. We're home of Dancing with the Blind and the Miss Blind Diva Empowerment Pageant.
Wait a minute, Dancing with the Blind?
Yes.
That requires further explanation.
Well, Dancing with the Blind, if you heard of Dancing with the Stars, we have Dancing with the Blind. So it's influenced by the hit TV series, and it's where the sighted and blind come together to learn our community, but to do it through performing arts, through dance and movement. And in the instance where the celebrity is a dancer and they have the choreographed partner, the blind and the low vision is the celebrity, and their partner is someone who is sighted. And that is our way through performing arts to bring awareness to the abilities of blind and low vision people through dance. We have a whole 6 to 8 weeks preparation, and in the end, we do a competition. And this year, the competition will be the day before the ADA anniversary, July 25th, at Cityplex 12 Newark, first time in our movie theater.
All right.
And Shaq is the owner of that theater.
Oh, great. I've been watching the video that the American Foundation for the Blind has out that was at a film festival. I mean, it's really, it's an honoring of Helen Keller, who did so much work with the foundation.
Yes.
I mean, what an extraordinary story. For those who don't know of a blind and deaf woman, had a wonderful teacher, Annie Sullivan, who lived with her and taught her and helped make the blind and the deaf visible, you know, during a huge period of time in this country. Let's take a look at that right now.
Thomas.
When we just talk about any one person, we miss a chance to really talk about the systems, right? The issues that are affecting people. I think there's a place for conversations about Helen Keller, but maybe we can start to incorporate and start to use Helen Keller to bring in other voices and other experiences. There's a lot of folks out there that I think need to be included.
Jancy.
It's easy when you're watching a film like this to feel very hopeful and inspired because you're going to be meeting a lot of blind people who have sort of made it according to whatever definitions they have for themselves. And you should feel that way, but what you should feel inspired to do is to bring in people that we haven't yet found. For every blind person you meet that's working or studying or creating art, know that there are blind people that are still not stepping foot from their doorsteps. There are blind people that don't have sufficient access to literacy. There are blind people that don't know that they have the right to access education and employment. And we've all got to work together to identify where those blind people are that may not know what's available and help connect them to their community of support and listen to what their goals are.
Yeah, so interesting, you know, some of the profiles, and Lachi, I know you're in it.
Yes.
Krystle, you're in it. I saw a black woman, a young black woman engineer who adopted a child, you know, at birth, was given the authority to do that. You know, it's such an amazing story. Krystle, you or talk about your adventures in the doctor's office.
I'll start with saying it was 10 years before I could even share that story because that was the stipulations behind the agreement to the doctor receiving a penalty. And in the film Possibilities, I share brief about how I was discriminated against because of my blindness. And oddly enough, this GYN wore prescription eyewear, so she didn't have the best vision either. But she did not want to proceed with my first time visit with her because I could not fill out the
form,
the intake paperwork that you do when you first start as a new patient. And so I told her, I was like, well, you have staff here. They're not volunteering. So can they please read it out to me and I can verbalize whatever is needed. She had already ran my insurance card, so she got paid for the day. I took off of work and I left fuming. Like my blood was literally boiling.
Right.
And by the end, she told me I could not force her to examine me because she felt that I was incompetent in completing the paperwork because I could not see. And I explained to her, I was like, I don't have a literacy problem. I have a vision impairment and your forms are not accessible to me. So the resolve to this could be that your staff who you pay can assist me and accommodate me. It shouldn't take long. But she just continued to refuse, and I was so upset that I didn't even try to call for a ride. I walked 15 minutes to the civil rights office in my downtown area. I was like, I'm gonna make a complaint. I don't know if they're gonna believe me, but I just need somebody to hear this because I know I can't be the first or last person who's just trying to use their independence, who's taking care of their responsibilities, and I'm being discriminated over something I can't control. It's not my fault that I am visually impaired.
I mean, that's quite a story. And Lachi, I mean, how do you make it in the music business? What's the...
So first and foremost, I recognize that we need to understand that there is a whole host of folks with disabilities out here doing a lot of the work. You know, July is Disability Pride Month, and I want to just make sure that we highlight names that we don't often hear. Roger O'Kelly was the first deaf-blind person to get a law degree, and he was black. Haben Girma, she's a young black woman who was the first Harvard law grad. Brad Lomax, who was part of the 1977 sit-in and was the one who brought the Black Panthers in, young black man with MS, to be able to make sure that that sit-in ended up leading to the Rehabilitation Act of 1977, which then led to the ADA of 1990. We don't talk about blind Tom Wiggins, who was the highest grossing piano player of the 19th century. Not the highest grossing blind piano player, not the highest grossing black piano player, but the highest grossing piano player. And he was probably one of the first celebrities of modern American history, and he was a young enslaved piano player who was blind. So I just wanted to make sure that I named some of those names while we're here. And then we have the Lachis. So yeah, when I was navigating the music industry, I realized I had this epiphany that I was masking, and that I couldn't be the only one in the music industry masking, that other people had to be, and that I wouldn't know because they're masking. And so that was how Ramped eventually formed. I remember I was doing a panel with the Recording Academy about disability and accessibility in the music industry in April of 2021. And at that time, I was just an artist, right? And we were talking to the leadership, and that panel was virtual and ended up going viral, right? I was moderating it. And so after that panel was over, so many people came into my DMs and my email, and they were going, wow, that was such a powerful panel talking about disability and neurodivergence and music and the access we need. We want to be a part of your organization. We want to be a part of your movement. And I remember thinking, movement? Organization? Right. And so similar to Krystle, it was like, I wasn't literally on the toilet, but I...
Where were you thinking there, girl?
I was thinking in probably a different inappropriate place, but I had the epiphany of like, wow, recording artists and music professionals with disabilities. We need to come together and be a disability-led organization that works within the music and entertainment industry to make it more accessible, more inclusive, more equitable, and recognizing disability culture as the storytelling tool that it is. So right now, for 5 years later, what Ramped does is we consult and we do trainings for music and entertainment entities to become more disability inclusive and accessible and accommodating, whether it's venues, whether it's music labels, publishers, production houses. And then we also cultivate a global network of music professionals with disabilities who are peer vetted and professional creators or industry folks within the entertainment and music industry to be able to come together for community and connectivity, collaboration, networking, and other opportunities that we bring in. We've partnered with the Grammys we're the ones that bring the ASL to the red carpet on the Grammys. Yeah. That's us.
Great, great.
All right, so Cynthia Erivo didn't just bring her own interpreter, right? Like, we did that. And,
That's wonderful.
We partner with, like some of the largest labels in the world to have songwriting camps with our artists that are part of our network. And we do just a ton of work within different community spaces just to make things more accessible and accommodating. And I'll say this, what it has done has allowed people navigating the music industry to stop having to mask. And I mean, in the sense of, I've had directors, producers at the highest level, executives, educators coming over and going, wait, now I have like neurodivergence, or I'm dyslexic, I've had anxiety, I'm deaf in one ear, I'm starting to lose my vision, I have tinnitus, and they're like recognizing like, hold on, this whole time I have had something. Right. And I have been overcompensating for it for fear of maybe losing a gig or being ousted or ostracized or whatever. And you're telling me I don't have to do that anymore? And we're like, yes, come on, join the club. The water's fine. And people are realizing that they are already a part of a community. That is not something that you have to think about for the future. It's not a them problem. It's not, oh, it's just for wheelchair users. No. Everybody has something right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I do a quick shout out to my book, I Identify as Blind by Lachi. Please go check it out. It is a Kirkus award-winning book, and it's a bunch of jokes and humorous essays about disability. And that also I'll be releasing an album called Magnificent, in all ages, hip-hop album for kids.
Well, you both are so absolutely terrific. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank my guests, Lachi and Krystle Allen.
Yes.
You can catch them both share their journeys in the blind community in the documentary Possibilities by the American Foundation for the Blind. That is it for us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and we'll see you the next time.
See ya. Yeah.